remembering. So we'll just wait just a few more minutes and see if we get a few more people popping on. I just sent out an email reminder to everybody, and then I also just posted on Facebook. So we'll see if we get some people just jumping on. Sometimes that's where people join us from, is last minute. Oh, this looks interesting.
Would you mind making me a co-host so I can share my power?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. I just went ahead and made it so that anybody can share just for now. So it's the fastest way I think I can do it this way. Chat. Hey, well, welcome everybody. We're just letting some people come on in, and I want to make sure that my view is properly set right now. See if I can pin your video. There you go. I don't know if that works for the recording. All right. Well, let's just have a little bit of a chat here to get started. I would love to introduce you guys all to Lorie Brown. She is a legal nurse consultant and an attorney, and an MSN, just like most of us, and a lot of us here are either MSN or doctorate prepared nurse practitioners. So this is kind of a unique group. I don't know that there's any other groups out there of just nurse practitioner legal nurse consultants. Are you aware of any, Lorie?
I'm not.
Yeah, so it's kind of a cool and unique group. I just wanted to introduce Lorie to you all and ask her a little bit about kind of how you got started in legal nurse consulting very briefly. I know you have quite an interesting saga. I have listened to your story before. So just kind of while we're waiting, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with legal nurse consulting.
Sure. Actually, it's part of my presentation, but here's the version is I actually started in legal nurse consulting when I was in law school, and I never took a class on it. I don't think you need one. And then years later, I'll share that story in my presentation, but I restarted it, and it's been an amazing experience because you could do it from home. You make a lot of money, and it's the best thing I've ever done.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for a few more people to pop on, let's just ask this question, because I'm not sure you might have this in your presentation, but I'd be curious to know from your perspective, what do you see as being an advantage for nurse practitioners in coming into this field? What have you worked with nurse practitioners before? What thoughts do you have about that?
I have a high-level mentorship group for nurse practitioner, or well, actually nurses who want to be legal nurse consultants or who are legal nurse consultants, and a good proportion of them are nurse practitioners, and they seem to be doing extremely well. They're very well received by attorneys, and they just seem to just get out there a little bit more and market better, and they've been very successfare.
So what do you attribute that to? Do you think that it has to do with just like building confidence through their career, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think that that attorneys look at nurse practitioners at the same level as physicians. So, why pay a physician when you can get more of an expertise with the nurse practitioner? Because the nurse practitioner not only knows medical standard of care, but also nursing standard of care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had someone on a thread in one of the other legal nurse consultant groups that I'm in. I think I'd asked a question. You might see my questions when they come up because we're friends. And so that's how Facebook works. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll see things that your friends are saying in the group. And I think I posted one not very long ago. If you're just joining us, we have Lorie Brown here. She is a master's prepared nurse and an attorney, and she's here to present to us today. And I'm just chit-chatting with her for a few minutes while we let a few people pop on. So we'll just do that for a few more minutes. But I was just letting her know that I made a post in one of the other legal nurse consulting groups just recently and was asking kind of what the ballpark range is for nurse practitioners out there. And I think somebody was saying that they didn't feel like it was any different, or that there wasn't much difference between a nurse practitioner and an RN doing the work. And I'm curious to know what your opinions are on that.
My experience is that it's the same. It's the same. But nurses get paid, comparison a lot more as an LNC compared to the nursing salary versus nurse practitioners.
I see. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Well, we still have people like popping on like crazy. It must be people just like opening their inboxes and finding that link. So I'm gonna just sit here and push admit, and let you get started with what you have prepared for us. So tell us kind of what's the topic that you're going to be covering today. And then if you don't mind, I'll just kind of be reading. If you guys have any questions, I will raise my hand and I will let her know that there's a question, and then we'll read that for her. And then we'll just kind of go from there. So if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. You can do that either publicly or privately. And that way I can just ask them sort of as a general question if somebody has one. But tell us what you're going to be covering today and how you're going to be providing us some value, and we'll let you get started.
Great. So I'm going to talk about, about being a legal nurse consultant. There's some myths and some truths that I want to share to see if legal nurse consulting is right for you. And then I want to share some opportunities if you'd like to learn more. But I'm curious from you, why did you come to the call? What has you interested in legal nurse consulting?
And I'll just let everybody unmute that wants to comment on that. What? Anybody here want to get us started?
Hi, yes. Hi, this is Libby from Arizona. I was really intrigued, and the person hosting right now was so very kind to really fill me in and do a nice appraisal job, really orienting me to what it was all about. I love research, I love to write. I think I've done probably more thesis work for other people than my own thesis. So I kind of love that groove. I have a lot of family members that are into law and have been around law. So it just kind of intrigues me. I really do. I'm kind of interested. And I'm really at the very, very, very beginnings of understanding what this is. So thank you for hosting today again.
And
my pleasure.
You're not alone in that. It really, everybody here is pretty brand new to it. So just so she knows kind of who our audience is, and we've talked about that. Yeah, there's very few, if any of us here, that have done any of this work. So
sweet. And I'll add some personal things just really quick for probably a lot of us. I am a full-time working mom. I have 6 kids. 3 of them have pretty significant trauma backgrounds, and one of them has autism on top of it. So parenting ages 7 through 26 is really an intensive thing, and it takes a lot of life investment. And you just don't get that when you're full-time taking care of the patients in the clinic. Reality is, it's just reality. So if I can free up some time in my lifetime to really invest further in my family and yet do something that's really productive, I love that option.
Libby, I can so relate. I started legal nurse consulting when I was pregnant with my second child, and I'm a single mom. I wound up having 3 kids and having my practice mostly as a single mom. My daughter, I was with her dad for a little while, and my son is on the spectrum. So I can so relate. But it's the best thing I've ever done, because you'll hear in my spiel, I was a partner in a law firm doing medical malpractice defense, and I was traveling all over the state, working with doctors and nurses and helping them prepare for depositions and going to trial. And when my son was born, my first, I had a nanny, and she went with me everywhere. And really, starting the legal nurse consulting was a blessing, because I don't know how I would have been able to continue doing that. And then when you start your own business, you're there for your family, and you can work when you want, and you have so much freedom and autonomy.
Cool. Anybody else have any specific reason that they're drawn to legal nurse consulting, or what brought you to the group and then to this call specifically?
I'll go ahead and start.
It looks like Yvonne was going to have a comment really quick. We'll let her tell really quick.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm removing my nails while we do this, so I can't really.
Yeah.
Like one or.
Go ahead. I think we might have lost you. Oh, you cut out there for a second, Yvonne. You want to start over just for a moment?
Oh yeah, sure. I've done a few cases as a friend. A friend of mine, I guess, did legal nurse consulting on the side. He was also a nurse practitioner. And whenever he was stuck on, or I guess had too many cases, he would just ask me to help him out. And then he would kind of like split the whatever
Mhm.
fee he would charge.
Mhm.
And then obviously like he would go to court. I have no idea what that was at the time. And so now fast forwarding, I don't know how long I've been a nurse practitioner, but I don't know, 7 years or something, 5, I don't know. Anyways, a while. Of course, like I have kids as well, and they, one of them has health issues. So very similar to everybody's kind of story here. Obviously it would be nice to work from home and at my own speed or make as much as I want. If I want to stay up till 2 a.m. doing my own thing when they're sleeping, sure. If I want to open up a big practice, great. If not, if I just want to do some, would be great. And I guess I'm kind of interested in knowing what direction I can take that in, or how can I get that started so that I could theoretically open up my own business, but also branch as much or as little as I want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like, how do I attract the cases that I want to attract? Obviously I don't want to do like something I'm not familiar with from my own nursing background, but so I'm interested in doing that.
That sounds great. Well, perfect. You're in the right place.
Yeah, it sounds like
Um,
everybody has similar stories. Well, let's let you go ahead and get into the meat of what you'd like to share with us. And then we'll let some questions at the end, and you can always put in some questions either privately or publicly on the chat. And then I will try and sort through those before we're done. So we'll try and Lorie, do you know about how long you've got to provide for us today?
Probably about 45 minutes.
That'll be just about right. So perfect.
Okay, awesome. And one thing you asked if nurse practitioners charge more as legal nurse consultants. They don't, but they do charge more as testifying experts. I can say that much.
That's helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
So anyways, we all have these dreams. We've talked about them. We want to have a successful business. We want to quit our day job. Excuse me. We want financial independence and control over our hours and our schedule and control over our working environment. So legal nurse consulting is a great avenue to do that. And there's never been a better time to market to attorneys. COVID has blessing and curses, like everything else. Obviously for nursing, a lot more curses though, unfortunately. But for legal nurse consulting, it's been a blessing because for the first time in history, attorneys are actually in their offices or their homes and they're working on cases. They're not running from hearing to hearing and deposition to deposition. Usually attorneys are very one-sided, and it's like, okay, what do I have next? What's hot? Okay, I've got a deposition. I'll prepare for the deposition on Monday. Okay, and what do I have to? And then Monday they go to the deposition. Then Tuesday it's like, oh, I've got a pretrial conference. I got to get the pretrial order ready, and it's always what's next. So what they usually have a stack of cases on their desk, sitting there waiting to be reviewed, and they don't even think about them because they're thinking about what's next. So with the coronavirus, we are very lucky because for the first time in history, attorneys actually have time to look at their cases. They're trying to get their cases ahead so that they can settle sooner. And when things start to open back up, they're still not open back up. Yeah, there's been a couple of jury trials here and there, but there just hasn't been that much. So this is a great time. And you have everything you need to be a legal nurse consultant. So let me ask you, if I gave you a case, a medical record, would you be able to look at it and tell me what things should have been done and what things shouldn't have been done? Every one of you would be able to do that, right? There's like reactions. You can put your hands up.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody feel free to pop in the chat when she asks a question. I've done presentations before, and it's always so much more fun when people are like, hey, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, feel free to pop in that chat when she asks those questions and let us know.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Zoom is, we're live, so let's communicate. It's great. Okay, so you already know how to be a legal nurse consultant. I honestly don't believe that you need a course or anything to do this. I think that attorneys are hiring you for your nursing knowledge and not your legal knowledge. I never had a course. That client that I had back when I was in law school, he's still my client today. And I keep telling him, don't get any older. I don't want you to retire. I love working with you. So legal nurse consulting is all about the relationships with the attorneys. So let me just share why I get the privilege of speaking to you today. And Elisa, thank you so much for having me. So back in 1999, my life was like very different than it is today. This is in Indianapolis, Indiana. My office was on the 21st floor of this building. I had a beautiful view of the north side of the city, and I was representing doctors and nurses throughout the state. We had an exclusive contract with this insurance company, so all of their cases came to me. And so I believe at one time I had over 100 cases, but I loved it. I really loved helping nurses prepare for depositions because I found that other attorneys just didn't take the time to talk to them and help them with their deposition and to be ready. And then, you know, of course, I love everything about it. And then one day my son was 18 months. I was pregnant with my second child. And my partners came to me and they said, Lorie, I've got some really bad news. The insurance company you represent went out of business. And I'm telling you, I thought I was going to die. It was the worst day of my life. And I'm thinking, well, I have a nursing degree. I can go back to nursing. Well, at that time, they had just switched to the 12 hours and 12-hour shifts, and there was no childcare for 12 hours. And I could go to another law firm, but I didn't have any business to take with me because the insurance company went out. So I just went home and I cried and thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to legal nurse consulting. And I know all the attorneys. I know the defense attorneys because they were co-counsels with me. And I know the plaintiff's attorneys, those represent the patients because they were, I paid them a lot of money. And I'm thinking, this will be so easy. I know everybody. So what do you think happened? Do you think it was a hit or what? What do you think happened? Put it in the chat, unmute, whatever works.
Did you find that this is like a male-run business and you had a really hard time getting, like, you know, getting started?
No, I thought because I knew everybody that it would be so easy, just like you said, Elisa, and that was actually the opposite. I struggled for about 5 years, 5 years. But once 5 years passed, I was to the point where I had 8 legal nurse consultants that worked for me. They came on a Monday, picked up their case, picked up their check from the last week, gave me their case from last week and the work product. And every Monday, 8 people came and got a new case and worked on that case and brought it back the next week. But that was 5 years. And during those 5 years, I said, if I ever figure this out, I am going to teach legal nurse consultants how to grow their business so that they wouldn't have to struggle. And so I'm very fortunate now that with my system, it's very step-by-step. And the legal nurse consultants that I mentor are usually able to quit their day job, not in the first year, but between the first and the second year. So this is my life today. This is my office in Indianapolis. I never thought I'd have an office. I never thought I'd have people working there. I have 3 staff members there. And here's the craziest part about it. I don't even live in Indianapolis anymore. I followed my dream and moved to California. I don't have a license in California, but I still live here in San Diego, in beautiful sunny San Diego. And what happened was I knew I wanted to move. I knew that Indianapolis isn't what I wanted anymore. And so I moved to San Diego again. I run my office from here. And when COVID hit, I had everything set up. My phone, I have an office phone right here. I can answer my office calls. We do everything on Zoom. We have staff meetings on Zoom and whatnot. And about 10 years ago, I switched from doing legal nurse consulting. I still do that, but I expanded and we do professional licensing defense. So we represent doctors, nurses, pharmacists, dentists, you name it, social workers throughout the country for professional licensing defense. And again, I still do the legal nurse consulting and still work with nurses on how to grow a successful business. So but you have to have a big why, you know, in order to get out of bed in the morning and do what it takes to be successful, you have to have a big why. So here's my big why. This is my son, Evan, in the middle with the green shirt. He is a third-year law student at George Washington, and he was 18 months when all this happened. And I wanted them to have a good life. I wanted to be able to afford to send him to George Washington Law School or wherever he wanted to go. The guy on the right, he is Jordan. He was the one I was pregnant with. So I always know how old my business is based on him. He's 22. So I've been in business 22 years. And then he lives in downtown San Diego and has he works at Staples and is in school. And then my daughter on the left, she is a senior in high school this year. So they're the reason why I get up in the morning and do what I do, because I want to provide for them and I want them to have a good life. So what is your big why? What is going to get you out of the bed in the morning to have you do the difficult things? Now, it's really funny when I talk to legal nurse consultants, you know, they're like, oh, but it's so hard. I'm like, you used to work turning 300-pound patients and cleaning them up, and now your job is to call attorneys. How is that hard? But it's in our mindset, you know, a lot of it's in our mindset. So then after, so I've, in those 5 years that it took me to be successful, I did a lot of coaching. I worked with Tony Robbins in his business mastery program. I worked with Lisa Nichols. She's amazing. I adore her. She's a 7 times New York Times bestseller, and she is a speaking coach, and she had this program called Global Leadership. And I just think the world of her. And again, I'm so grateful to her. When I was mentoring with her, and most of her programs were in San Diego. So that's how I got the bug to want to move here. So I always say that her program's called GLP. So I say my house is the house that GLP built. So I am just very fortunate that I've had a lot of nurses or a lot of mentors to mentor me and help me become successful. And it's my goal to give back to other nurses. Anyways, as legal nurse consultants, we think that we can just like do a review for merit or a chronology, a timeline of what happened when, but we can do so much more. And now I'm talking about behind the scenes legal nurse consulting, because as a testifying expert, it's a little different, because as a testifying expert, the standard is what those acting under same or similar circumstances would do. And you would be asked to take a deposition and to go to trial. But this is what you can do behind the scenes. Pre-suit is when the attorney's deciding whether or not he wants to file a case. The discovery part is when they're getting, no case should be a surprise. You should know everything there is about a case before you go to trial. So the discovery phase, there's lots of different tools that you can help an attorney with. And then the last phase is actually the trial. Most attorneys don't want to go to trial because it costs a lot of money as a plaintiff's attorney to prepare a case. In fact, the last case I tried, the plaintiff's attorney spent $90,000. And if he went to trial and lost, he would get nothing. And if he won, then he'd get a percentage of whatever the verdict was. So it's really important for legal nurse consultants to review a case for merit on the plaintiff side of things, so that the attorney knows that they can go forward with the case or not. Because if they choose to go forward with the case and it's not a good case, then it's very, very expensive. So that's why they need legal nurse consultants more than ever, because if they take the wrong case and they lose, it's very devastating, not just for the attorney financially, but for the patient. It's really sad to have a medical mistake and to think you have a case and then you lose. It's just heartbreaking. So So let's talk about the attributes that legal nurse consultants have and why, if you would be a good legal nurse consultant. So do you love being knee deep in records and solving puzzles? So let me see some hands. Let me see some chat. What's up? Do you love being knee deep in records and solving puzzles? I think Libby, you said you did. So Sarah, awesome. Yeah, Adriana, great. Yeah, so that's what legal nurse consulting is. It's solving a puzzle. It's putting the pieces together, and yeah, understand what went wrong and why. Yeah, it is. It's like being a detective. Exactly. So if you like to solve puzzles, I always say, this is a great key for you, but be careful, because as nurses, we are such perfectionists, and we get stuck in that analysis paralysis. And so you can't make a dog walk. And if you can, you try to find the needle in the haystack, but it's not, most likely the needle isn't what caused the problems. So I see some great comments. Medical case management for 10 years, lots of chart review. Yep. And you love being the detective. That's exactly right. That's what legal nurse consulting is. So are you able to focus your attention? That's a big one, because as nurses, we're constantly bombarded. We get interrupted every 5 minutes, and you've got to really be able to focus to dig into those medical records and figure out what happened. Actually, I'm going to do something a little different. Hang on a second. I wasn't planning to do this, but this will be fun. You guys ready for some fun?
Heck yeah. Let's do
All
it.
right. All right. So I am going to.
Adriana says better focus at home. I hope I'm saying your name right. She probably has very little children. Is that the case?
Oh, I know some people that actually get an office because it's hard to work with kids. I actually I had a 3-car garage, and I made one of those garages into a into an office, because I wanted to have a little separation between work and home. Okay.
She clarified she thinks it is easier at home, I think is what you're saying, Adriana, and I hope I'm saying your name right, but yeah, so maybe in her house it would be easier. For some people, I do think that is an issue though, trying to figure out, okay, yes, I get more time with my children because I'm not running to and from work, but trying to find the time to actually focus on work is a different story. And I guess it just depends on your family situation.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put I found what I was looking for. I'm going to put a sentence on the screen, and it's your job to count the number of F's in the sentence. Okay, this is to see if you're focused and follow through. So who's focused and follow through tonight? Who's focused? All right, so count the number of F's in the sentence, but don't count the F in the title. Okay, so I'm going to share this with you. Okay. So do you have the number of F's? Go ahead and put them in the chat. How many F's did you count? I'm going to turn the screen share off. Let's see, we got 5. Somebody says 6. Somebody says 5. Somebody says 4. Any 3s? Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that answered, and we have 4 different numbers. So I always joke, Houston, we have a problem, because there's one right number. So what happens is that there are actually 6 F's in the sentence, because what happens is our brain interprets the ofs as a V. So we miss the F's in the of. And so it's really important when you're a legal nurse consultant to not get stuck in, oh, Jen got it right, not get stuck in the, in the things that the preconceived notions that we have, and to be open-minded and so we don't miss the F's, and to be detail oriented. So do you want to try another one? All right, so I'm going to put a sentence on the screen and just read it to yourself. Okay. So in the chat, how many of you read I Love Paris in the Springtime? Oh, Adriana liked that. Good. Okay, several people read I Love Paris in the Springtime, and it doesn't say that. It actually says I love Paris in the springtime. But see how our brain automatically goes to what we know, and we fill in the spaces or not even notice the extra the. So it's really fascinating how that works. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Jen. It's crazy, isn't it? All right. So as a legal nurse consultant, you've got to be focused and follow through. So let me get back to my presentation here. Okay. So oops, that's the wrong one. Okay. Okay. So you have to be very focused as a legal nurse consultant, because you don't want to miss the ofs and the thes and when you're reviewing a case.
Metaphorically speaking, I'm sure.
All right. Here we are. Okay. So the next question about being a legal nurse consultant is, are you a people person? Because when you're knee deep in records, sometimes you're a little people starved, but you need to be a people person in order to develop the relationship to get the business. So are you persistent? Because persistence really pays off in getting clients. Do you feel like you're bugging somebody, calling them again and saying, hey, just checking in on you? Or do you feel like you're creating that relationship? Because if you feel like you're bugging them, it's not going to work. You've got to feel like you're contributing and building a relationship, but you've got to be persistent. And it took me 6 years to get one client. And now he's one of my biggest clients, and he's wonderful, but it's really the persistence and keeping that relationship. So that's the next one. Do you like creating relationships? Somebody said they're a social butterfly, which is awesome. But sometimes social butterflies, prevent you from, doing the work because you're busy talking to people or creating relationships. So there's a nice balance in there. But the reason why I had trouble for 6 years or 5 years is because attorneys need to know, like, and trust you in order to give you their confidential clients' records. So the attorneys knew me and they liked me, but because I'm an attorney and I could take their clients, they didn't trust me right away. So once I had been doing it for 5 years and I proved myself and I wasn't going to do anything else, then they're like, okay, we can use you now. But you don't have that issue. Your problem is going to be getting people to know and like you, because they don't know you yet. Somebody earlier said that they had attorneys in their family, which is great. That's a great place to start, because attorneys know other attorneys and they could introduce you. Okay, so another question that people ask is, are there enough cases in my specialty? I actually have one NP in my group who is a neurosurgery NP, and she's doing amazing. And you think neurosurgery is limited. I have a CRNA in there, and I can't remember what the other people. One's oncology. Yeah, because that's what you're struggling with, because you're a hospitalist. But here's the thing. I believe that nurses, even if it's not in your specialty, know how to find the answers. So you can So the beauty of that is that, yeah, you might have a specialty in hospitalist, but med surg, like, and if they gave you a case in another area, you'd be able to figure it out, or you have a community of people that you can ask about. So I don't limit myself to specialty. I haven't even practiced in 30 years, but I'm still a legal nurse consultant. I still review cases. I never worked in OB, but I'm actually pretty darn good at it by now. And again, as nurses, we're so good at being able to find the answer. So I don't limit the abundance, as I say. There's plenty of work, and there's a huge country. So if you work in rural Montana, don't worry about it. There's a whole huge country. And again, one of the benefits of COVID, Jen, I'll get to your question in a minute because it's excellent. One of the benefits of COVID is that everything is by Zoom. It's all national, and you can practice wherever you want. You do not have to practice in the states that you're licensed in, because there's no physician or nurse-patient relationship. You're looking at care that's already been provided. So you don't need to even worry about you don't really need to worry about having a license. You can actually practice anywhere. And if you're an expert, the standard is those practicing under same or similar circumstances. But wouldn't you think that most nurse practitioners have national board certification, and they know the standard of care? It's pretty much the same throughout the country, with maybe very little regional differences. So it's a huge country. There's plenty of work out there. There's a million attorneys, and they all need you. As anybody who does medical work, they all need you. So the questions are going fast. You think licensing should be national? It's interesting. Things, they're really reconsidering that now, given how badly they need nurses in stressed areas where COVID's surging. Okay, so you've been a nurse or a psych nurse for 25 years. How do you identify law firms that don't work in that area? I think if you're limiting yourself to just psych, you're going to have trouble, and I don't think you can, because I think that most attorneys take whatever cases that they find that are good and meritorious and work on them. And defense firms have to take all of whatever specialty from that comes in the door from their insurance company. So I don't think you can just identify psych. Now you can. There's firms that do specialize in labor and delivery, bad baby cases. There's a lot of firms that do traumatic brain injury cases. So those kind of specialties, a lot of firms that do long-term care, those kind of things you can better niche in than just psych or like med surg or hospitalist type things. Do work. Elisa, I'm not sure what you're
Sorry, I
asking.
was just clarifying the question that she asked. I think you said that attorneys that don't work in that area, and she had said do work, but you figured it out. You're all good. So
Okay.
yeah. So the question that I think is a common one, and somebody seconded it, is whether you can keep your RN license if you're doing only this work, and more importantly for us, can you keep your NP license if you're doing only this work? Do you know? Can you speak to that?
So it depends on what state you're in for an NP license. In Indiana, you have to have a collaborative practice agreement. And if you don't have a collaborative practice agreement, your APRN goes to inactive, I believe, until you get another collaborative practice agreement. If you're in full practice authority, again, I'm not sure what the requirements are, if you have CEs to complete. In Indiana, for example, there are no nursing CEs required. I still have my RN. And again, I haven't practiced in 30 years. So I think it's very state specific, but definitely keep your licenses as long as you can. And if you can keep doing the continuing ed or whatever you need to do. Wisconsin's the only unique one. They require you to be, that I know of, they require you to be to have so much practice. So you can't like retire and keep your RN.
So what I'm hearing is making sure that you're in contact with your own state boards of nursing and your certifying body.
Yes. With your NP nurse license, you also need to clarify with your, yeah, definitely to maintain your board certification. Oh, Shelley, you live in Wisconsin. Okay, and Adriana. Okay, awesome. Okay, so should I work only with plaintiff or defense? So plaintiff are the ones that take care, that work with the patient or their family, and the defense works for the doctor or the hospital or the nurse practitioner, whoever's being sued. As an expert, I think it's important to have experience in both sides of it, because otherwise you might be seen as biased. Wow, Wisconsin's struggling here. We got lots of NPs who want to be LNCs. But in terms of whether you do reviews for merit or things like that, you just have to be careful of conflicts. If you're still actively practicing, you want to make sure that it's not against your facility. What I would recommend is, if you do expert work, do what a lot of my clients do is they'll do plaintiff work in one state and defense work in another. So that's how you can do both and get that experience in both, but you make sure you don't have any conflicts because you're not working in the same state.
So a quick follow-up on that. So by conflict, you mean make sure that you're not testifying on the side of the hospital for one case, or like when would that happen? What that you would encounter?
You wouldn't want to, if a plaintiff's attorney hired you and then a defense attorney hired you on a different case, but has cases against that plaintiff's attorney, you just don't want to be going against the hand that feeds you. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so do you need to testify? You only need to testify if you're going to be an expert witness, not a behind the scenes consultant. So as an expert witness, you definitely need to have your license, your certifications. You're either testifying for or against, usually another NP, but you definitely, you don't have to testify if you don't want to, but don't be an expert then, okay? So how do you market your business? So we use this marketing pie, and the marketing pie has all different ways to market your business. And I always say, take one piece of the pie at a time. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed at looking at this, but just know that there's tons of ways to market your business. So how lucrative is legal nurse consulting? And I know you've been asking this question, Elisa, and that is most legal nurse consultants charge anywhere from $150 to $200 an hour. So my question to you is, how many hours a week would you have to bill at $200 an hour? I know it sounds like a math question. Don't do the math. Bill at $200 an hour to make over $100,000 a year. So just put it in the chat. Guess what number. How many hours a week would you have to bill at $200 an hour to make over $100,000 a year? So Christy, there's no 500 hours a week. Yvonne says 20. Wait, that was a year. Oh, you have to bill 500 a year. Okay. So how many a week? Don't do the math. 30. Yep. Elisa, Christy. Yep. Sarah, 15. So the actual number is 10.4. So is that the craziest? You can bill 10.4 hours a week and make over $100,000 a year. Do the math. It's crazy. So it is extremely lucrative. Those of you who are working, 50, 60 hours a week to make 100,000 is crazy. There's a much easier way. I'm not saying that you're only going to work 10.4 hours a week, because in the beginning, it's a lot of marketing. It's a lot of getting the attorneys to know, like, and trust you and to want to work with you. So yeah, you work 50 hours a week. So you're probably asking, well, how do I learn how to do this work? So what I say is, you don't need one of those courses on it. You already know how to do it. Attorneys are hiring you for your nursing knowledge, not your legal knowledge. And in those classes, they can be helpful. I would suggest the AALNC book on principles and practices. NPs are typically earning about 120 to 150, so it's a bit harder to replace income. Actually, it would be, instead of 10.4, it'd be 15 hours to make over 150. So much more time for your kids. You love that. Yeah. So it's very, very lucrative, and it's an amazing opportunity for any nurse who has the perseverance and likes to be knee deep in records. It's not for everybody. You know, there's a lot of nurses out there that take those expensive courses. They wind up, they go ahead and send marketing letters to the attorneys. They look them up online. They find out who does medical malpractice and personal injuries, and they send them these letters, and then they don't get a response. So let me tell you what happens to those letters that they send. This is where they go, in the trash. I don't even see these letters because I don't even work in Indianapolis where my staff is. So unless they know, like, and trust you. Now think about it realistically. If a doctor sent you a postcard saying, I hear you need neurosurgery, come to my office, would you think that was kind of weird? Probably. So again, why would we do that to attorneys? They don't know you. They're not going to give you their clients' confidential medical records unless they know, like, and trust you. So the secret really is to create a relationship with these attorneys so that they can know, like, and trust you. So who wants to learn more about legal nurse consulting? Anybody? Okay, awesome. So I do have a special opportunity that I'm going to share with you, and that is my LNC retreat. It is virtual now because of COVID. We can do the same thing online. It is a live event. So it'll be October 9th and 10th. It'll be from 11 Eastern time to we have a special event Saturday evening, which is optional, but it's really important. It kind of pulls everything together, everything that you learned in the day. Yes, it's a Saturday and Sunday. And then the next day it's from 11 to 5, and that's it. And in that retreat, it's like one of my most favorite things to do. And I only do it 2 or 3 times a year, and it sells out every time. And I have to tell you, my secretary is absolutely going to kill me because I have 1 spot left, and we have a lot of people on this call. My secretary actually co-runs these things with me, and she's amazing. And I have 1 spot left. Quality problem, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about the LNC retreat, and if you want it, hurry up and go get it. I will take as many people who's want it, and I'll pay the price with my secretary. Elisa put the link right there in the chat. And I'm actually going to throw in a free gift for anybody who's interested. But first, let me tell you a little bit about it. Oh, the LNC retreat, what you're going to learn is what's stopping you from being successful. Because what I found is, remember I told you that I was that I lost my job as a partner in a law firm. Well, the truth is I was mad. And one of the attorneys who talked to me, he's a runner. And so I was always looking for him running, and I wanted to run him over. And so my energy was not in the right place for going to market when I was so angry at this attorney for who I had given my heart and soul for 8 years. I built up their whole health law division. So you've got to have the right energy and the right mindset in order to be successful. So in this retreat, we're going to talk a lot about success, and it's all experiential. So what that means is, like when we went through the focus, you're going to have an experience of what it's like to focus. You're going to have an experience of what success is. It's like if I told you Jen, go in room 405 and start an IV, and you've never done it, you've never seen it, and I give you the policy and procedure. Would you be able to do it? No, you need more mentoring. So in this program, you're going to have an opportunity to talk directly to attorneys and ask them any of the behind the scenes questions, what they look for in a legal nurse consultant, what do they want in their work product, should I stay within my specialty, whatever those questions are. And you know, they're open, they'll tell you, you know, they'll give you the truth. You're also going to learn about what to say to attorneys so they say yes to your services. Because what I found is what I thought I should say to them, hey, I can review your case for merit. You know, just, you know, do you have a case? I'm happy to review it. It doesn't work. So we have a whole script that we teach about what to say to them so they say yes to your services. And then you're actually going to walk out of there with a step-by-step marketing plan. So on Monday, you just plug it in and follow the steps. So it's super easy, super fun, and you're going to learn my whole system in that weekend. So you just go home and plug it in. Now, somebody says, well, how do I even know how to do the work? And that's why I'm going to gift you with my bonus of how to write a rock solid report so attorneys hire you over and over again. So the way I look at it is if you know how to do the work and you have the marketing plan and the success plan, what's going to stop you from being successful? I feel like you'll have everything. So it's an amazing retreat. It is just a phenomenal experience. And like I said, I only do it 2-3 times a year. I did it in March it was in May, and it sold out in March, and it always sells out. Like I said, I have 1 spot left and I still have 3 weeks left. So Elisa, if you want to put the link up again, you know, I'm happy. I have 1 spot. Whoever takes it, takes it. If more people want it, I'm not going to shut it off until the morning, till my assistant comes. But don't listen to me. There are tons of video testimonials on there. Listen to them. There are people just like you, nurses just like you, who went to the retreat and shared, you know, how they feel after it. So, and for those of you who aren't sure if the retreat's for them or how to get started, I'd also like to gift you with a 15-minute strategy session at lncmentor.com. Call with lncmentor.com. All right. So yeah, you know, it's my goal to give you as much value as I can. So I'm happy to open it up for any questions that you have, and I would love to share with you more. And I'd love to see you at the retreat. Like I said, I keep it small and intimate on purpose because I really want to work with you. In fact, one of the first retreat I had, the person said, you know, I feel asking for this kind of money, I can't do it. And I said, well, what happened from age 0 to 8? And she said, when I was 6 years old, my mom left me at my aunt's house and she never came back. So we worked through her unworthiness issues and were able to get to the bottom of it, and it freed her. And so once she left, her business just exploded. And that's what I want for you. Whatever's stopping you from being successful, let's do the work and the hard stuff in the weekend so that all you have to do is plug and play during, you know, when you get.
Can I make a quick plug for you on that? You know, I've done a little bit of research on different people who are providing resources for people to get started in legal nurse consulting, because that's the whole purpose of the group that we have. And anybody here, I'm virtually certain everybody in here is already in our Facebook group, but the whole purpose of it is to provide you with sort of a buffet of options to get started, because one way or the other, just take action, you know, whether it's with Lorie or somebody else, just take action. She would say the same thing. But, you know, I've done a lot of research because I've been reaching out to different people to come on as guests, just like Lorie. And one thing I noticed with Lorie is that not all of the mentors that come through have a focus and an emphasis and really give importance and value to the mentoring aspect, or I should say the coaching aspect of it. And actually that's my heart, because I'm actually have a degree in psychology and was actually going towards making a life coaching business when, I sort of pivoted into legal nurse consulting. And so I've had mentors, I've had coaches, and that piece that you just spoke about, breaking through limiting beliefs that are just get in your way. Not all of the instructors that you come across will work through that. They'll just kind of hand you templates and hand you, different useful resources, but they won't actually help you break through what's really stopping you from being successful. So I really can appreciate what you just said there about breaking through that belief, holding back that nurse from just stepping out there and recognizing who she was, and that she already, that she wasn't an imposter, or that she, whatever it is that's, so that one resonates with me anyway, because that's something I broke through recently with my own coach, and coaching is so much more valuable than just mentoring. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. And think about nursing. What are your biggest pet peeves about nursing? Just shout them out. Biggest pet peeves.
I would say, I'm just going to say dealing with the bureaucracy of the hospitals, and dealing with family members when it's a pleasure to take care of the patient, but those family members sometimes can be a real problem.
Yeah. So eating your young, management underappreciated. What about lack of support, lack of time, lack of resources, lack of equipment, lack of
appreciation?
Money? Yep. Lack of money. You never get money unless you work more. Comparing the bonuses of nurses to the execs. Yeah. And right now they have sign-on bonuses for new nurses. What about the people that have been there forever? What kind of a slap in the face is that? Hey, we're giving you $30,000. So all of those beliefs, this is our conditioning in nursing. All of those beliefs are based in lack and not abundance. But in order to have a successful business, we've got to rewire your brain from a nursing brain to a business owner's brain, so that you can be in abundance and know that there's abundance of attorneys, an abundance of work, and abundance of success just waiting for you. So that's what we do at the retreat. We just rewire your brain. So, so some people are asking, when's the next one? I don't know. Like I said, I do these infrequently. I give up my weekends for it. And it's just a very unique and special opportunity. So we do, if you do go to the website, in fact, I'll show it to you. Here you go. If you, what happened to that? If you go to the website and you try to leave or something, a pop-up will come up saying, do you want to be on the waiting list? So you can be on the waiting list and you'll get notified when the next one is. I promise you it'll sell out quickly again. I usually do these, like when Elisa and I talked about preparing this for you guys, I had 4 spots. And then I spoke yesterday at the NNBA, and I actually had 3, or I goofed in my counting, and I told them I had 3 spots, and they were gone in a minute. And so that's how I have 1 left, only because I goofed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have anything. But feel free to watch all these videos and hear what people say about it. But this is the easiest, the fastest, and the most efficient way to get going and get the whole plan. So, in the retreat, we're going to, get real, get confident, and get it done, so that you can just start sharing your genius with these attorneys and being successful.
Lorie, would you let us know as well, because I know there's a lot of people that are going to try and grab it that aren't going to unfortunately get a spot this time around, but will you keep me posted when you are ready to do this again? And I will try and get you on with us a little sooner, so there's a little more room for the NPs in this group, because I know there's a lot of interest, and I think that they would really benefit from it. Like I said, there's not a lot of instructors of legal nurse consulting. And I don't even know if I would classify you as an instructor per se, because your focus is more on that piece of like, hey, you already know what to do. There's a couple little techniques I can give you, but you already know the clinical stuff. It's not about that. It's about helping you shift your mind into being your own boss and all that. So
yeah, one of the biggest shifts I had to make was being the CEO of my business. Because as nurses, the patients come with the room, and nurse practitioners, it's the same. Your patients are scheduled for you and you just show up, and now it's your job to go get the work. But once you retrain your brain that way, you know, and make decisions from the CEO, then things start to work. So I do have another opportunity. It is tomorrow night. Last minute here, but I do have Amy Davis, who's an attorney, who's talking about an anatomy of a trial and how LNCs can help. So she's going to talk. And I'm so excited for her. So proud of her. She just got nominated. She won actually the Indiana Trial Lawyer of the Year award, which is an extremely prestigious, coveted award. And she's going to talk about the trial that won that award for her. So it's free for everybody. I try to do a little free something once a month or so. But it's another opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Well, wonderful. That was perfect timing, actually. So just about an hour. So thank you so much for all the value you provided in this call and for helping to ease some of the concerns people might have had about whether this is something that they're capable of doing. You all are capable of doing this. And I love that we have this community that's growing. I haven't even really made an effort to grow this community actively. It's been really organic, and it'll be super exciting when I make an active effort to grow this group, because it'll be, especially when people become seasoned a little bit, it'll be such a great resource to connect with each other and network and to subcontract to each other. And we would love to have you come and be a guest speaker in the group on a regular basis. Thank you so much. And everybody have a wonderful night. Thanks.
Thank you, Elisa. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Okay.